What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, and welcome to Track Talk, a part of the Lactic Acid Podcast Network. I am your host, Dominique Smith, and I am excited for you all joining me here today on this fine Tuesday. This is going to be released Tuesday evening, so happy Tuesday evening to each and every one of you all. We have a great episode ahead of us. We're going to recap the Prefontaine Classic, and I'm going to talk a few names that stood out to me, a few honorable mention names. You don't want to miss that. And we have a special guest. Got a chance to sit down and talk with Bianca Knight. If you are a sprint fan of the United States, you know that she is a big deal. She was a part of the world record 4x100 team in 2012 at the London Olympic Games, and she's doing incredible things trying to elevate the sport of track and field in the great state of Mississippi, and you're not going to want to miss that interview. So like I said, it's a fun episode ahead of us, and without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's jump into the action. Prefontaine Classic went down this past weekend. It was pretty cool. The weather wasn't necessarily ideal, rainy, cold, but that did not stop an incredible performance. And I saw a tweet, I think it was Nick Willis who tweeted out about it. It's a one-day meet, but it should be celebrated, kind of like the Super Bowl, but it felt maybe not like the Super Bowl, but it felt like a preseason NFL game. And I agree with them. For a track fan, it's exciting, everything that goes into it, it's having been there, I can tell you it's a big deal. I didn't get a chance to go this year, but I love going to the Prefontaine Classic. It's an historic meet in a lot of cases. Some of the best athletes in the world gather around to run, to compete. And this is another topic for another show, but I am interested to see what we can do to elevate this meet, because meets like really could do great things in the track and field community. And it's something that I feel needs to be at least revisited or discussed on how we can promote it to the outside audience. Maybe it's taking it from, I don't think that's going to happen, taking it from NBC, putting on ESPN, but, with the product this great, especially in the United States, it has to blow up the market. It has to go and be viral, because it's a great event, and it should be celebrated as such. But I found myself very entertained from the beginning to the end. So a couple of honorable mention names. Well, I'm not even going to say honorable mention. I'm just going to tell you who impressed me. Ryan Krauser, man, let me tell you something. I was a shot putter. Y'all should know that by now. I say it all the time, whether it's on Lactic Acid, and I've said it on this show. So, I love the throws, love what Valerie Allman is doing. But Ryan Krauser, when you're talking about the GOAT conversation, if he's not in that conversation consistently, I'm telling you, then there's something wrong. Ryan Krauser is a different dude, because the hardest thing about sports, really the hardest thing in life, is to maintain consistency and maintain excellence in everything. He is the epitome of that. That dude is just out there balling. 32.02 meters again to take the win. And it seems like he has no competition, but that does not mean, and when I say he has no competition, I'm not saying, everybody else stinks, but he's just on another level. Tom Walsh from New Zealand. Tom, we were supposed to arm wrestle last year, man. Still want to arm wrestle, even though I'm going to get my butt kicked. He took third, and then Joe Kovacs, who's a beast in his own right, and is really consistent in his own right. He took second place. Big fan of his. So the shot put was definitely one that stood out to me. Got to give a shout out in the 1500 to a friend of the show, Sinclair Johnson. did an interview with her on Lactic Acid podcast. Be sure to check that out. If you want to watch it, it's on YouTube. But if you want to listen to it, I'll put the link in the show notes. Sinclair ran 3:58. Sinclair told y'all that she was making the team this year. And listen, you better watch out for her because she is continuing to improve, and the best is yet to come for her. Obviously, it's, a lot of fun to, see people that obviously are friends of the show, but, Sinclair is a big deal down here in Florida, especially Central Florida, attended Lake Brantley High School, did incredible things running the 800 and even the 1500. So definitely got to give a shout out to Florida. Duplantis, I mean, come on now. Like, that dude's a beast. But Baru Aragawi, man. And if I mistakenly said his name, I do apologize. Definitely don't mean to mess up names. He won the 5K. 21 years old, 12 minutes, 50 seconds. 20 doggone one. 21. Listen, salute to you, brother, man, because you're out there balling. That is very impressive, and it was great to see. Like, that's just mind-blowing to me. That is, I don't know what that would be the equivalent of in the sprint world, but the fact that he dropped that time and he's only getting better, and he's 21 out of Ethiopia, man. And my friend Hannah Borenstein wrote a great piece on him. I'm gonna put that in the show notes as well. Hannah, like I said, I'm not gonna give too much away. I retweeted the link, Dom Smith _news is where you can find me on Twitter. I did retweet that, and like I said, I'll add that in the show notes. But she wrote a great piece on him for World Athletics. Please be sure to check that out. And so that was one that I had to stop and highlight. But there are 3 races, really 4, that I said, oh, wow, this is incredible. Let's start with the 400 hurdles. Men's 400 meter hurdles. We've been talking about Rai Benjamin. Rai Benjamin, I said on the show, he's my pick to win it all. And that's still the case. I'm still picking Rai Benjamin to win the 400 meter hurdle title in Eugene in July. Carson Warholm, he's the world record holder. He's a beast. He is a beast. I mean, he's the man. Alton dos Santos, 47-23. We don't talk about him as much as we should, I feel, at least, because he has a I forgot I think it's 46.7 is his PR in the hurdles. But put some respect on his name, because listen, we talk about Karsten is amazing, Rai is amazing. This dude is right there with him. It would not surprise me in the slightest if he takes home the crown, if he pulls off the upset, because I do think it will be an upset, because Rai and Carson, like, they're just elite, but this dude is in that category. He's there. And so really it becomes it's a toss-up, because you have to include him. He shows up, he's gone faster. He's that dude. He is legit. He deserves respect, and I'm giving him his flowers. I'm not picking him to win. I still have Rai taking it. I think he wins at home in Eugene. But this dude right here, he's going to be in the mix. It's going to come down to the last 50 to 75 meters, and it's going to be those 3 runners. And it would not surprise me if he's the one that emerged from that pack. I still think Rai, but that dude here, Alton dos Santos, man, you need to watch out for him. He's a beast. Another event that really, really caught my eye was the men's 400. I'm so happy to see I was so happy to see Michael Norman run 43.6, man. He talked about it after, in the post-meet interviews, and he just seems so much happier. Granted, if I ran 43.6, I would probably I would lose my mind. But I remember he ran his first race was what 44.6, 44.5, whatever. He was mad. He was mad. But Michael Norman, man, I guess you can say he's the favorite right now in Eugene. I just can't. Stephen Gardner shows up. That's the thing. Stevie shows up. But this elevates the men's 400 because Michael Norman at his full potential is a beast. Y'all know it. I know it. He is a beast. And for him to drop that time is something about rainy tracks and Michael Norman that you can't bet against. So let me tell you something right now. If it's raining in Eugene, I'm telling you, Michael Norman's going to win gold in the 400. It was great to see him run that. Big shout out to Karani James, man. Karani James, I just said this about not Joe Kovacs, but Ryan Krauser. Karani James consistency. Karani James won gold in 2011, and here we are, 2022, and he's still balling. Ran 44.02, was diagnosed with Graves' disease, and is managing that well. Sonia Richards-Ross talked about it. You know, that's not the event, the 400, because of what the disease has, it causes you to be more fatigued and everything, but he has found ways, talking with Gail Devers, she mentioned that in the broadcast, and you can find that, on NBC's video, but major shout out to him, man. Really happy for Karani James. I'm a huge fan of Karani James. He's great for the sport. He's everything you want to be when it comes to an ambassador for track and field. The last race I want to talk about, the women's 100. You know it was coming. Elaine Thompson, for real, y'all. Elaine Thompson is for real. She's not playing. And we all want to talk about Sha'Carri Richardson. And here's the thing, Sha'Carri Richardson came in second place. She looked way better than she did in Jacksonville. I don't want to take too much time. Pretty much will be the only thing I'll say about Sha'Carri Richardson. Because Elaine Thompson, when she's clicking on all cylinders, she's hard to beat. I have Shelly Ann Fraser-Price. I said she was going to win. But Elaine Thompson, 10-7. I don't know what happened. Now, Sharika Jackson is somebody we don't talk about enough too for Jamaica because she is a beast. And she's consistent as well. So, the fan in me thinks it can go 1-2, meaning Thompson, Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, and then that third spot. Now, that third spot, if she carries on that team, it's not automatic that she gets that spot because Tiana Daniels is a gamer. She shows up when it's time. And the USA, and we're going to talk more about that. There was a comment that said we don't talk enough, it's me and my shows and just in general, we don't talk about the other U.S. women. It's just Sha'Carri, and he's absolutely right. There's talent in this country when it comes to the women's 100, and there's potential. I don't know if the potential is 1067 or whatever the case might be, but we will talk more about that, and we'll go in depth in future shows, especially headed up to USA's. But that was an entertaining race, but it was a dominant race. It was crazy. I forgot how many people who ran 1092, but it's that Hayward magic, man. Elaine Thompson came out and she proved why she is one of the best. I still give flowers to Shelly Ann because she's a beast. She won the 200, but that was an impressive race, and I think it was a great race. That's the good thing. Good running is good running. I don't care who's racing. And so it was good to see that it was somewhat 10-7-9. She dominated, but it was good to see that there was high quality running in that event. And it was just a great time, man. You got the men's 100, Trayvon, came out, 993. He's my pick to win the entire thing. He's my pick to win gold. I was impressed by Curly's 998. He's had a great month of May. And man, it's so crazy. We are inching closer. We are inching closer. Think about that. To world. There's so much going on in track and field this year. You got the Commonwealth Games, you got the World Championships. We didn't have the World Relays, but there's no room. It is crazy. There's so much action going on, and I think that Eugene is gonna be fun because there's some races I just don't know. Like I'm thinking about the men's 100. Andre DeGrasse came in dead last in the men's 100 yesterday, ran 10:21, which I think was the season's best, or at least that's what one of the things said. And so you look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, he's just doing awful. Like, why are we investing in him? And then he wins the gold medal in the 200, drops 1962. And so you have to consider him in everything because he's a gamer as well. When the lights are the brightest, he shows up. Let's hop to college real quick. Michael Williams just dropped 986. Now, that's another debate, about where do college athletes stand in this mix. But I'm just saying, he could sneak on a team and we'll kind of see what happens there. But there's a lot of great things that we will cover as time goes on. I wanted to keep this first segment short because you guys are about to hear the interview that I had with Bianca. But do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube page. Tell your friends, tell your family about it. We're doing big things here at the Lactic Acid Network, and especially here on Track Talk. Do not miss the interviews that we have with Lactic Acid. Just interviewed Nessa Frazier. That interview dropped earlier today. Some of our past interviews, we interviewed Matt Wisner last week of the New Generation Track Club. Sinclair Johnson, got a chance to chat with her, and we're going to have some special guests coming up on Track Talk in addition to Lactic Acid. So it's going to be a fun time. This is your one-stop shop for all content track and field. Be sure you can find me on FanHub TF2. That's where these episodes will be, and the more written portion of it will be there as well. And so that's the company I work with, and there's an app, so you don't have to go on the website every time. Just download the app. You can get it on iOS, the Google Store, Google Play Store for Android. If you have that, FanHub, I believe that's the app. Just type in FanHub, 2 words, and then you should see the logo. The logo is white and orange, and it should say Athlete Biz. So it's like FanHub by Athlete Biz. I don't know. I'll try to do my best to put it up on here or whatnot, but yeah, definitely you're going to see some great content from some great athletes, some great runners, and some great media personalities. So I hope you enjoyed the interview. Thank you for watching. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Definitely don't be afraid to comment. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time. As promised, I have the world record holder, gold medalist, Miss Bianca Knight, joining the show. Bianca, what's going on? How you doing?
Not too much, man. I can't call it. Trying to enjoy this Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully no rain.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like I said, I had to stop this prior to because I almost burnt some ribs. But I got to give a shout out to my mama. She put her foot in the peach cobbler that I just took out the oven, and it is looking perfection. Food Network, get at me, sponsor this show. But with Track Talk here, back, we talked about earlier leading up to this, but Bianca's doing some incredible things in her home state of Mississippi. So you just recently had the Mississippi Meet of Champions, and it had, from what I've seen, it had a nice turnout and a lot of kids got a chance to participate. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because that's awesome.
I can. Of course, I'm born and raised in Mississippi, and I'm very familiar with, the different circumstances that our kids face as far as it pertains to track and field. We're not a very big track and field state, but we have some amazingly talented track and field athletes. So just in talking to parents and coaches, I noticed that, for one, they can't travel. The travel is, it's a bit much because our track season ends the first weekend in May, last weekend in April. It's very, very short. And when they're done with it, they go right into football or club basketball, whatever. So they don't get to travel as much as they should. So I wanted to eliminate the travel. And I also wanted to eliminate the fees. That's another problem that they run into, just not being able to afford to go to those meets. So the Mississippi Meet of Champions is a meet that obviously I host in Mississippi. And also it is no charge to the athletes and the coaches. So it's basically like a free meet. It's sanctioned, so all of their times count, and it's more like club style, so I can add different events and I can kind of play around with it and do what I want with it. So this year we had some pros to come down who were just looking for meets and things like that, and of course still no charge for them, and help them out with the travel or the stay or whatever, again to eliminate that financial aspect that's starting to hinder a lot of athletes from traveling and competing. So it turned out really well, and I can see that it's going to be a big deal. This is my first year having professionals and my second year even doing this meet. So just in 1 year, it had a really big turnaround, and I'm just liking the way that it's developing. And again, this is one of those, I saw a need, so I'm trying to fill a need by having a local meet, a meet in the States for everybody.
I got my start covering high school track and field right before the pandemic, and I still, cover high school track and field. Obviously here in Florida, I was born and raised here. It's a big deal here, but Mississippi, I think it holds, but they had the fastest 100-meter boys runner. Like I said, I think he ran
yes,
like
in the world still.
Yeah.
Yes, Jordan Anthony, for the past 2 seasons, he's been #1 in the nation for high school.
And so there's tremendous talent. And the thing that shocked me was that with the talent there's no, see, in Florida, when track season ends, in some respects, it's just beginning. Mm-hmm. Because, we have meets down in Miramar, not even just for high school athletes. We have the Golden South Classic, and now it's a series of 4 meets. Mm-hmm. I got a chance to compete in that in high school. You have so many different things, that they have, for the youngsters. And even some of the meets, we have a big meet in Miami called the Louis Bing Invitational. That's a 2-day meet. So in the South specifically, to hear that Mississippi is not, it doesn't have as much, maybe not compared to Florida, but even compared to some of our northern states, Pennsylvania has, a lot of resources, and even states that you wouldn't think of, was just kind of crazy to me. Yeah. Obviously, growing up in Mississippi, you just said that you saw a need, but how did you put it all together? And then what encourages you from what you've seen over the past 2 years?
Honestly, it was one of those things. It was 2 weeks I had to put together the first Mississippi Meet of Champions.
Oh my gosh.
I went to the state meet and I was just talking to people, and I just noticed that every state had a Meet of Champions except for us. And I was like, why does Mississippi have a Meet of Champions? Like, that's crazy. Like, every state has a Meet of Champions, and we should have one because it gives the private school and public school kids the opportunity to compete against one another. And also it's another meet. It's like an all-star meet. Football has their all-star game. Basketball has their all-star game. Soccer does. It's like every sport has a component in there where they want to get the best of the best together. And I was like, and track and field should have the same thing. And they were like, oh, well, we tried it, but with spring football. And, they gave me a million reasons why they just never even attempted it. And I said, well, I think I'm going to try to see. I think I'm going to see, can I use the facility after the state meets are over? And, maybe let's just see how it goes. And they're like, yeah, okay, cool. And we had like a huge turnout. very huge turnout. So that was my first indicator that if you have it, they will come. So that's okay, cool. So we came back the second year, which was this year. And now I have professional athletes wanting to come. Like, just again, it didn't take anything but for me to have it and see that people actually wanted it. It's still, of course, like I said, Mississippi is not a track and field state. So it is still very, very hard to convince those kids the importance of a meet like the Mississippi Meet of Champions. And also to just help them understand that, you know, this is something for you guys. There's no meet around the world that is going to be free for you. There's no meet around the world that is strictly catering to the athlete, especially at the youth level. And this is something that I wanted to do for you guys, particularly in Mississippi, because I understand that traveling and all of those things, there's, you know, that's hard for you guys to do, especially with our track season being so short. You really just don't have time to do it. So it's, you know, extending their season and getting them again to understand the importance of it and wanting them to participate, because I feel like we have a lot of great athletes that still aren't, they still didn't come. You know, of course, with Jordan Anthony, and we have Kennedy as well, Kennedy Sanders, she signed to LSU. She finished #1 in the nation in the 400 as well. So we have two of the greatest prep athletes, you know, to come through the state of Mississippi and also the nation. And they, you know, they participate, but I wanted them to kind of use that momentum with all of the eyes being on Mississippi to come and be at these same meets as them and help, you know, help them understand, like, this is a recruiting tool for you. This is a way that colleges can see you, because they're going to be looking for these results. So again, all I needed to see was that there are people who wanted it. And that was pretty much the easy part for me. And there's no hard parts, honestly, besides the weather.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I don't want nobody from Mississippi coming after me when I say this, but I know in Ohio wants to implement spring football, and they're consistently being voted no to it because they're like, oh, it's going to interfere with all the other sports. But every other state can make it work, even in a sense of track. Like, okay, I can tell you, 90% of the football players, the top football players in the state of Florida, I don't care if you run the 100, the 2, the 4, the hurdles, or you're a big lineman and you throw the shot put in the discus, they're competing in track and field, and it still works even once the season is over, because you're not talking about, it's not travel basketball where you're competing, you know, pretty much the entire summer. You're talking about, you know, 1 to 3 meets. And if you're elite, you know, then, you know, you're talking junior nationals and all of that stuff. And I've seen it just throughout. And sometimes I think it's a problem at the top of the sport.
Yes.
And so what I would ask you, as, you know, someone who's been in this sport, competed at the highest level, world record holder, gold medalist, what's the next step from a standpoint of the media? Like, how do we garner attention? I mentioned this just a few minutes ago before you came on, that pre-classic, as big as it is in the track world, it's like a preseason football game, if that, you know what I'm saying? So what's that next step for the Mississippi Meet of Champions and just in general?
I think in general, people have to see the bigger picture. As far as the youth level go, I think this is a district issue, superintendent issue, athletic director issue, where they have to understand that a lot of the things that they do or don't do within their district and within their schools impedes upon a lot of the kids who particularly compete in track and field. I feel like every single thing at the school interferes with it, whether it's band or swimming or golf or tennis, it really doesn't matter. Somehow all of that is going on during the track season. They will not allow the track teams to have a preseason, which every other sport has a preseason training cycle. But with track, unless you're running indoors, they will not allow you to train before the season starts. And it's like, okay, well, that's just like telling football that they can't start training until school starts, knowing that there's a football game 2 weeks later. That's what they do with track and field at the high school level. They select the team mid-January for outdoors, and then the end of January, early February, they're starting their outdoor season. So it's like you're not even giving them an opportunity to get in shape. And it's one of those things where the athletic director have to say, hey, this kind of doesn't make sense. I think we need to change this. And from a media standpoint, I think that a lot of what you see in the media is everybody wants to post the stories and everybody wants to post narratives, and nobody really wants to talk about track and field, just track and field. If, of course, right now, if you ask a person who knows nothing about track, you ask them a track question, I think the only person that they will be able to say, they will say Sha'Carri Richardson and they will say Allison Felix, because those two are for the women. And then for men, I'm not sure who they would say. Probably. Because they don't tell any of their stories. So
I don't know.
Exactly. Like if just like, yeah, exactly. Like right off the head, like you wouldn't think of anyone because they don't talk about anyone's story. We don't know what's going on. But if it's a narrative or there's a storyline or something going on, those are the only people and only things that they're going to highlight. And that's a problem because, as you've seen with the whole situation last year, that ended up going all the way to the Senate or something. Like, it's just like, hey guys, let's kind of reel this back in. Let's kind of reel this back in and actually talk about this, because you're not talking about it. It's just, they just took it and ran, because most people don't know what's going on. And I think as much as attention as that brought our sport, it hurt it as well, because now people don't really care. We don't care about the story. We don't care what these times mean. So now when she's running and she's doing everything, she's getting criticized and shredded and ripped apart. And it's like, hey guys, she's actually doing pretty well. And it's normal, like the things that she has going on, but because they don't know anything about the sport and they think that, I guess everybody just jump out there and win every time or something, or run like a crazy fast time or something, now, oh, they hate her. They're just throwing her to the wolves. And it's like, oh my God, y'all canceled her over that. It's like, no, you guys canceled her because you don't even know what's going on. So again, I think that for as much attention as those huge stories bring our sport, they do a lot more damage as well in terms of telling like the authentic, the real stories of what goes on with track and field, and the fact that a lot of them out there running for free and all this stuff. Like, it's so much other stuff that they could talk about that our sport needs to change in order to help us. In the Prefontaine Classic, like you said, I'm not sure how that's not a big deal. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know even though from a media standpoint, as far as bringing the awareness to our sport, I don't know what we can do at this point. We have the deepest team from the field to the track distance, pole vault, high jump. I don't care what it is in the events that you look at for US. We have the deepest team by far. So we have amazing athletes, amazing stories, and they go out here doing amazing things every week almost, but you just never hear about it and they don't publicize it. And honestly, that's our problem. As in track and field, that's our problem.
I feel like the sport is backwards, because everything that you said is just spot on. With Sha'Carri, everybody focused on the 1137. I lived in Florida. When that meet was going on, I could tell you there was a storm that ranged from Jacksonville to my house in Orlando, to the point where I wasn't going out the house because it was raining sideways. And so to run in those conditions, and then that meet was just weird because they had to run twice. But she won the second time. And this is her first race. And to your point, everybody got riled up because Justin Gatlin said, okay, she ran a 10-3 in practice. Okay, but if you play football, if somebody said, oh, okay, I saw him run a 4.2 or whatever the case might be, you want to see if that person is going to break off a touchdown. And it doesn't, and are they going to, they may not run 4.2, but are they going to win or have an impact play? And to your point, Sha'Carri won. That's the thing. She won. She had a good race. It was her first individual 100-meter of the season. But everybody kind of circles around that. For the men, you think about the men, you think about distance running, you think, and then with the sprints, you know, we talk about Fred Curley because he's done the best job of promoting himself, to be quite honest with you. But other than that, and, you know, Bromell, you could say the same about him and Noah Lyles to a fault, but then it's just Christian Coleman.
Right.
Like that's what everybody is talking about, Christian Coleman. So I know the purpose of me wanting to start this show was to highlight those stories, because everybody, you know, in high school, I want to talk about high school, I want to talk about college, and then the pros, you know, I remember, I think it was Christina Clemens who had the Doritos earrings, and everybody's, oh, that's such a lovely story. I was like, no, that story sucks, because it never should be, you know what I'm saying? It never should have gone to that point in the first place. And I think it's crazy because it starts in high school.
Yeah.
Because, and I think it's great, you know, what you're doing, because a bunch of these high schoolers don't really know that you can have a life at the next level. You know what I'm saying? It's not football money. You know, it's not $20 million, but I feel comfortable saying you have a better likelihood of making money running track and field than you do playing football, because the higher level you go, the percentages drop to who really makes it to that next level.
Right.
And so it's, like I said, I feel like the sport is backwards. But what is not backwards is obviously what you're doing, which is incredible. So growing up in Mississippi, obviously running track, what was that kind of scene like for you? And, you know, what are some of the things you learned? And I'm actually curious, and I'll ask this question first. What state's faster, Mississippi or Florida?
Oh, per capita? You know what? I think
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna go with Mississippi. I'm gonna go with Mississippi for the simple fact that when I was coming up, we had some very, very, very talented athletes. Very. And some of them they went to great colleges. And of course, Trail Kimmons is from Mississippi, and we were on that London team together. A whole bunch of other ones that didn't make any world teams outside of Cory McGee. Of course, she did. Sam Kendricks, he's from Mississippi. Calvin Smith Sr., not Junior, he's from Mississippi. Who else? Savante Stringfellow is a long jumper. Of course, Brittany Reese. Who else? Oh my! The
most underappreciated athlete in track and field history.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we have the talent. No one talks about it. So I feel like, given the circumstances, they did away with indoors. So really, all of us did club track year round, and we, like you said, we made people know who we were and where we were from. It's not as easy as in Florida, where it just happens, because, man, that's a track state. That's a track state from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. That is a track state, and they love their track kids, and they help develop them. Just like in Texas, they're going to share those athletes, like, hey, we understand you're a football player or a basketball player or whatever, but you're pretty good at track. You're talented. It helps our sport anyways. Go out there and do your thing. Like you said, it's just a meet or two anyways, and you training for them and staying in shape. That's cool with us. Whereas in Mississippi, it's like, no, it's this season. We have this. You miss, you're going to be cut. You this. So those kids literally have ultimatums in Mississippi, unless you're like a Jordan Anthony, or Kennedy Sanders, where you're just the cream of the crop and the coaches don't have a choice but to share you, really. So it's one of those situations where, again, you had to make a way. I was kicked off the track team for doing club track in Mississippi. That's how territorial those coaches are. They kicked me off of my school team because I would not stop running club track. So again, I think that we would have way more athletes and develop our talent much better than we have in the past and than we are now, if the coaches and the athletes could get on the same page. But that's always been a problem.
I would love to see I'll say this: Florida doesn't start thinking about track until January. As crazy as that sounds, because it's football. It's football is what is listen, Florida sports can suffer. I'm just being honest. Everything centers around football. At the FHSA meetings, it's what football is. And if it messes up with football, it's not it. But I will say this, I would love if your meet of champions series was like a statewide meet of champions, like
And
not
it
state,
is.
like a 50, like the 50 states, like
It is. It is. I had a couple of athletes from Florida show interest, but again, because of Mississippi's track season and Mississippi's schedule with their other sports and every other, like when our track season is over, is ending, everybody else is pretty much just getting into their district and conference, like regionals and things like that, and we're done. So it's like, in order to make it to where Texas and Florida and everybody else could come, California, I would have to push it into the summer, and that's going to eliminate almost everybody from Mississippi.
Yeah,
that's going to eliminate them completely. But then, like you said, it will be a meet that ends up, I have all of your out-of-staters, but I don't have any of my in-staters because they're done with in May, first weekend in May, they're done. And y'all are just started.
We're done like the second weekend in May. So we gotta, well, the state series is, but we gotta, I think that would be good, like a April, like a mid-April kind of deal where you got the best from Florida, the best from Texas, the best from California, the best from Louisiana, like all, and I think it's possible to do. I think it's possible to do.
Yeah, I think if we could tweak our schedule, it would be possible, because April for us is district. It's the first is district, regionals, North State and South State, and then state. So April is nothing but qualifying meets. So if they could change it to where they give us like a gap and they push state back 1 week, all they need to do is push it back 1 week and give us that little gap in between all of that stuff, and it would be perfect. It would be perfect.
And it brings more money, it brings more attention, so it benefits. Mississippi, we got to get right, man. Got to get right for the sake of the kids in the future. We definitely got to get right. What have you seen this year just in track and field in general that's impressed you? It's an odd year because Worlds is literally less than 50 days away.
Right.
But what have you seen this year that has just kind of caught your eye? I see the women in Texas are doing it big down in Austin.
Man, yes, the men won their first national championship indoors this past year and everything. So Texas is definitely on fire. Those collegians, man, they are rolling. You got Abby and Favor. Like, I guess obviously since I'm, a woman, I'm paying more attention to the women's sprints. Anna Hall over in Florida, just seeing what she's doing, because I'm like, she's a multi-athlete. Like, she's pretty good at the 400 hurdles as well. So, just watching these athletes are just,
it's crazy.
These women are rolling. Coastal Carolina, Melissa. Oh my goodness, their whole team is rolling. So just seeing those schools like that, like showing up and showing again, like A&T did last year, which they've been a pretty solid program, but just showing that it does not matter what school you go to. It does not matter.
The women just in track and field, I mean, it's just been electric. You can't help but just, to watch them. That's not saying the men, haven't dropped some incredible times, but what I've seen in the professional level, but especially the college level, like Anna Hall's doing, the heptathlon, and then she was the automatic qualifier for the 400 hurdles. That's a different kind of pain that I would never sign up for.
Absolutely.
But no, it's crazy. And it's just so, I don't know, this year, the times just keep dropping, like as the years go on. I was talking with somebody, like, I remember a 46 in high school, man, you were one of the nation's best, if not the best. Now you got high school kids. We got a kid in Florida ran 45.7. College, Randolph Ross just dropped 44.2, which is the third fastest time in the world or something like that. And his dad is going to Tennessee, so now that just A&T will be fine, but now everybody's going to be going to Tennessee. But what are you excited to see most as we head into championship season in the pros as well as in college?
I definitely want to see who wins that national title for college, because that's right there. That's pretty tight right now, especially on the women's side. It's pretty tight. And I'm excited about a world championship being in the US. Like, I think that's going to be nice for us and be able to see how we handle something like that. And perhaps, being able to, have it happen again. So this isn't like the first to last time. Like, yeah, I'm not doing it again. So hopefully it's really good. Everything goes smoothly. And I would love to go. I would love to attend. So I have to check the schedule and see what I can do. But I would love to attend.
Well, they need to hire you to be a color commentator or analyst to, to help break it down.
I love that.
That's what I say. If you're going to go, you need to have it paid for.
Right.
And everything. Because it's cheaper to fly to London than it is Eugene. So you might as well have it sponsored. Do you think anybody touches that women's 4x100 world record?
Not anytime soon, unfortunately. I mean, honestly, that was just one of those races that everything was perfect. Honestly, we did what needed to be done and we made history. No one's run that fast before, and it's a reason why. So that's not going to be an easy record to break.
So bringing it in, this is called Down the Home Stretch. I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions and a few just oddball questions. I want you to answer to the best of your ability. If you do not, it is all good. Our reigning champion is from Florida, Miss Sinclair Johnson. Shout out to Sinclair, ran 3:58 at the Prefontaine Classic. Are you ready?
I am.
All right, here's an oddball question that will not count against the time. What is the go-to Mississippi plate?
Catfish, fried catfish.
Ooh.
You said go to Mississippi plate?
Plate, that means that you gave me the meat, now I need 2 to 3 sides.
Oh. Well, honestly, that's all we need down there. Hot pizza, like that Miss Farm raised Mississippi catfish. If you ain't had it, you really don't need anything else. You really some bread and some hot sauce.
Okay, that works for me. So 2 pieces of white bread and some catfish. Hey, listen, I'm down for it. There's a food you had to live with and a food that you had to live without. What would it be?
Oh, live with fried catfish. Live without pasta. I can live without pasta.
I have not had I've had catfish, but I'm saying a good piece of catfish.
You can only get it in Mississippi. So I believe you. Unless you've had it in Mississippi, then you're right. You've never had a good piece of catfish before.
Oh, dang. That's a struggle. Go to dessert. Go to Mississippi dessert.
Go to Mississippi dessert. Banana pudding.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was
for me, though. For me, I think if you ask any other Mississippian, they probably say peach cobbler or something.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Favorite destination that you've traveled?
Morocco. No, not Morocco. Monaco. And Morocco.
Oh, down in France. Go ahead.
No, that's not for you. You can't have that.
All right. If there was a dream vacation spot that you could take, where are you going?
Oh, dream vacation spot. I'm going to Italy.
Yes, the food there. But you say you're going to live without pasta. So,
pizza. I love pizza.
There you go. Okay, I can do it. I can dig that. If you had to run a race or you pick one of your best races that you've ever run and somebody could narrate it, who would it be?
Ooh, Senior Richard Ross.
Okay.
She's a great commentator. So I would love to have her narrate a race.
All right, couple more questions. If they had to make if they had to make a movie about your life, what is it called? And who is the character that you want, the actress that you want to play your character?
Ooh. Oh my goodness. Oh. It was an article that was written about me in Dostat, and the title of it was like a night or something. They used my last name though for the title, and I've always thought I was like, that'll be a dope movie. But of course, maybe What a Night. And who would play me? I don't know any young actresses right now that I probably one of the girls who played in the Venus and Serena movie.
Okay, that would be good. All right, 2 more questions. If you had to pick any Nike shoe to make into a track and field spike, what would it be?
Ooh.
It could be an Air
you
Force
say y'all
One.
really testing me on this one.
It's like if you have black Air Force One energy, you can pick one of those.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Some ones, the Jordan ones for sure.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. That's fitting for a world record holder. Yeah. Okay, last question. Ben and Jerry's came to you and said, we're starting a campaign that centers around you. You have to combine 2 ice cream flavors and you have to give us the title of the ice cream. What would the flavors be and what would the title or the name of that specific ice cream be?
Ooh. Probably be called Southern Belle with Southern butter pecan and Southern butter pecan and black walnut. So
wow.
Southern Belle.
Wow. That sounds good. Now I can make that happen at my house. Okay, that's cool. Bianca, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join me. Where can the people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Miss Bianca AK. I'm not very active on Instagram. I have it just because, you gotta have Instagram. So, but I'm not active on Instagram. I just get my Twitter.
And for people who want to know more about the Mississippi Meet of Champions and where they can support, where can they find that information?
They can go to mmoc.events and it'll tell you everything about the track meet, and also bkfgives.org is my foundation page, the Bianca Knight Foundation, where I receive any donation helps. I give out scholarships and grants to underserved track and field youth athletes and programs. So those donations go towards that. So if you want to help me out, you can definitely do that.
Definitely do that. Bianca, I appreciate you taking time to chat with me. This has been the latest episode of Track Talk. We'll catch you next week. Peace.